Jocelyn Alejandra Niño never once imagined she'd be buried without a complete body. At just 21, Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel believed she was invincible until a stray bullet hit her. Amado Carrillo Fuentes' attempt to protect himself ultimately led to his death on the operation table. While a mysterious clown was all it took to end Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix's life, none of them foresaw their tragic endings. Here's a compilation of cartel bosses who faced the most disturbing final moments. Let's dive into the first on our list. Pablo Escobar. I would rather have a grave in Colombia than a jail cell in the US, Escobar prophesied into his future when he thought of how he was going to die. Known as the King of Cocaine, Escobar was born on December 1st, 1949. He was a Colombian drug lord, narco-terrorist, and politician who founded and led the Medellin Cartel. Escobar was one of history's wealthiest criminals, amassing an estimated net worth of $30 billion by his death, while his cartel dominated the cocaine trade into the United States during the 1980s and early 1990s. Escobar faced threats from the Colombian police, the U.S. government, and his rivals, the Cali Cartel. On December 2, 1993, Colombian Special Forces, using U.S.-provided technology, traced Escobar's location to a house in a middle-class Medellin neighborhood after he called his family. The Search Block, a task force of the Colombian National Police dedicated to capturing Escobar, had been pursuing him for 16 months since his escape from La Catedral prison. They intercepted a call from a middle-class Medellin neighborhood, identifying it as Escobar's call to his son, Juan Pablo Escobar. Realizing he was being tracked, Escobar cut the call short. As authorities closed in, Escobar and his bodyguard, Alvaro de Jesus Agudelo, known as El Limón, fled across the rooftops, aiming for a side street behind the row of houses. However, they were shot by the search block as they ran, with Escobar sustaining fatal gunshots. "Viva Colombia!" a search block soldier screamed as the gunshots subsided. "We have just killed Pablo Escobar!" The joyous moment was captured by a gory picture of a dead Escobar and the police. If you thought that was horrible, the next boss on our list will shock you even more. Marcos Arturo Beltran Leyva. Marcos Arturo Beltran Leyva, born on September 27, 1961, was a Mexican drug lord who, along with his brothers, founded and led the Beltran Leyva cartel. Before establishing his own organization, Beltran Leyva was a high-ranking member of the Sinaloa cartel. His cartel was involved in the production, transportation, and wholesale distribution of cocaine, marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine. By 2008, through corruption or intimidation, he infiltrated Mexico's political, judicial, and police institutions to obtain classified information about anti-drug operations, even managing to infiltrate the Interpol office in Mexico. Mexican authorities placed a $2.4 million bounty on Arturo Beltran Leyva for organized crime and kidnapping. On December 11, 2009, in Ahuatepec, Morelos, he hosted a lavish Christmas party in a luxurious gated community in Cuernavaca. The Mexican Navy's elite Special Forces unit surrounded the house, but Beltran Leyva escaped during the shootout, which resulted in the deaths of 3 gunmen and an innocent bystander. 5 days later, on December 16, 2009, Mexican Navy intelligence tracked him to another luxurious apartment community. A 90-minute shootout, which led to his death, ensued, involving about 200 Mexican Marines, 2 Navy Mi-17 helicopters, and 2 small Army tanks. Beltran Leyva's gunmen used approximately 20 fragmentation hand grenades to fend off the Navy. Beltran Leyva and 3 gunmen were killed, while a 4th gunman committed suicide. At least Beltran Leyva had support, unlike the next boss who his own men stood against. L-22. L-22 was thought to oversee drug operations in Guamuchil, Sinaloa, on behalf of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's sons, known as El Chapitos. The Sinaloa cartel is regarded as the largest and most powerful drug trafficking organization globally. They primarily distribute cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl, cannabis, and MDMA. He worked in the shadows, and not much was known about him until his death in 2023. The gun battle erupted at a private hospital in Culiacan, Mexico on September 28th, resulting in 4 deaths, including a secretive Sinaloa cartel chief known as L-22. The cartel boss was reportedly killed by his own men after they mistook him for a rival gang member during a chaotic shootout at a hospital. One of the hitmen, realizing his mistake, turned the gun on himself. The cartel leader arrived at the Culiacan hospital clinic to pay for the surgery of fellow cartel member Omar Silvano, who'd been wounded in a shooting in Badiraguado 3 days earlier. Surveillance footage showed armed men running through the hallways with guns drawn and a lifeless body on the floor. The gunfight left 4 people dead, including 3 alleged cartel members and Dr. Otniel Montoya, who was caught in the crossfire. L-22's hidden identity led to his terrible end, but the next boss on our list was different. Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel. Known as La Catrina, Lopez Esquivel was 21 when she met her tragic end. La Catrina, a skeletal female figure in a wide hat, is now closely associated with Mexico's Day of the Dead festivities, and this nickname was given to Lopez Esquivel due to her cruelty. According to El Universal, Lopez Esquivel left Tepalcatepec, where she was raised by her farmer parents, in 2017. She is believed to have joined the CJN after falling in love with one of its leaders, Miguel L.M. Fernandez. Under his mentorship, she quickly ascended the ranks, embracing a glamorous lifestyle within the cartel. In early 2020, a 21-year-old launched an attack on the military, National Guard, and police in La Bacanda, Michoacan. Authorities captured 6 male shooters and shot a woman. The 21-year-old collapsed behind a wall after being shot in the neck, her face and clothes covered in blood. Wounded, she was carried by a soldier while 7 other gang members, hands cuffed behind their backs, waited for a helicopter to airlift her to the hospital. Footage from the gun battle showed her struggling to breathe on the ground as a police officer tried to calm her down while she awaited a helicopter flight to the hospital. "Calm down, kid. The helicopter is coming for you," the officer says in the footage. "It is coming now. Easy, easy. You are going to be okay. Try to hang on." La Catrina succumbed to blood loss in the hospital shortly afterward. Just like La Catrina, the next boss on our list shared the same fate. Ignacio Nacho Coronel. Ignacio Nacho Coronel Villarreal, born on February 1, 1954, was a suspected Mexican drug lord of the Sinaloa Cartel, a criminal group based in Sinaloa. He worked alongside Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, Mexico's most wanted drug lord, with his stronghold in Jalisco. Coronel was responsible for moving multi-ton quantities of cocaine via fishing vessels from Colombia to Mexico and onto the U.S. states of Texas and Arizona during the early 2000s. His influence and operations extended throughout the United States, Mexico, and several other European, Central American, and South American countries. In Mexico, he was known as the King of Crystal for his domination of crystal methamphetamine production and trafficking. Both the U.S. and Mexican governments had outstanding arrest warrants for Coronel, with the U.S. Department of State offering a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to his capture. On July 29, 2010, there was an army raid on one of Coronel's safe houses in an upscale suburb of Guadalajara. He opened fire on soldiers, killing one and wounding another. Sometime during the shootout, Coronel was fatally shot in the head, killing him instantly. If you thought that was gruesome, the next boss on our list will have you gasping. Yesenia Pacheco. Yesenia, widely known by her nickname La Güera Loca, which translates to Crazy Blonde Girl, earned her name during her reign of terror in the Gulf Cartel, one of Mexico's oldest and most violent drug crime organizations. Little is known about her life before joining the Gulf Cartel, but it is believed she endured significant trauma that shaped her into a feared and brutal killer. Recruited by the Gulf Cartel in 2009, Yesenia quickly rose through the ranks due to her violent tendencies. She became a sicario, leading a group called Las Hanas, tasked with eliminating Los Zetas members. In 2011, a video of her brutally murdering and beheading a Los Zetas member went viral. Yesenia quickly became the top enemy of the Los Zetas cartel, who patiently waited for her to slip up. In 2013, nearly 5 years after she had become one of the Gulf Cartel's most brutal female killers and a significant threat, Los Zetas seized their chance. They abducted Yesenia and 3 other cartel members, showing no mercy. The incident was broadcast live to make a point with the murders. The men wanted to prolong Yesenia's death, making it especially gruesome and painful. They slit her throat with a machete, allowing her to bleed out and choke on her own blood for several minutes. Then the men beheaded Yesenia. Authorities found the women's bodies scattered in parts in different locations several days later. Yesenia had a terrible ending, but at least she knew her enemies before she died, unlike the next boss on our list. Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix. Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix, born on October 24, 1949, was a Mexican drug lord and former leader of the Tijuana Cartel. As the oldest of 7 brothers, he headed the organization in the early 1990s. He joined the Tijuana Cartel in 1989 through his brother Benjamin, following the arrest of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. The Arellano Felix brothers' control of the cartel led to violent clashes with the rival Sinaloa Cartel. Arrested in 1993 in Tijuana, Baja California, Francisco Rafael was imprisoned at Federal Social Readaptation Center No. 1. In 2006, he was extradited to the United States on drug trafficking charges and released 2 years later, then deported back to Mexico with no pending criminal charges. On October 18, 2013, Rafael Arellano Felix celebrated his 64th birthday at Ocean House, Baja California Sur, with his family and around 80 to 100 guests, including prominent figures like former Mexican footballer Jared Borghetti and professional professional boxer Omar Chavez. At around 8 p.m., a black SUV arrived, and a man dressed as a clown exited the vehicle, entering the ballroom through the kitchen door. The clown approached Francisco Rafael, pulled out a pistol, and shot him point blank in the head, followed by several more shots as he fell. The assassin then fled through a rear exit, with 4 more shots heard outside to scare off Francisco Rafael's son, who was chasing him. The suspect escaped in the black SUV heading towards the highway. Disturbing as this may be, the next on our list is worse. Jose Rodrigo Arechiga Gamboa. Jose Rodrigo Arechiga Gamboa, commonly known as El Chino Antrax, was a Mexican drug lord, professional hitman, and high-ranking member of the Sinaloa Cartel. Born on June 15, 1980, he founded and led Los Antrax, an enforcement group protecting cartel leader Ismael El Mayo Zambada and his sons. Arechiga was arrested on December 30, 2013, at Amsterdam Airport Schiphol for drug trafficking charges and extradited to the U.S. in 2014. He vanished from federal probation supervision in San Diego, becoming a wanted man once again. 10 days later, on May 16, 2020, his body was found inside an abandoned vehicle in Culiacan, Sinaloa, along with his sister Ada Jimena Arechiga Gamboa and her husband Juan Guillermo Garcia. Apparently, on the night of May 14, 2020, they were at home when a Sinaloa cartel hit squad arrived, leading to a fierce firefight with Chino using an automatic assault rifle. The gunfight lasted until dawn, and when they ran out of ammunition, they surrendered and were taken hostage. The next day, police in Ayun, Sinaloa, discovered a black SUV with 3 dead bodies inside, one of which was identified as Jose Rodrigo Arechiga Gamboa. He was shot dead, wrapped in cloth, and his head was covered with a black plastic bag. The other 2 bodies were identified as his sister and her husband. It was later reported that his murder was likely ordered by senior leaders of the Sinaloa cartel. The 3 victims showed signs of torture and were shot dead. Forensic experts and Arechiga's family confirmed his identity. Unlike Arechiga, the next on our list fought his way to death. Heriberto Lascano. Heriberto Lascano, also known by his aliases Z3 and El Lasca, was a notorious Mexican drug lord and leader of the Los Zetas cartel. He was one of Mexico's most wanted criminals. Lascano joined the Mexican army at 16 and later became part of the Grupo Aeromóvil de Fuerzas Especiales, GAFE, the Mexican Army Special Forces. He, along with around 30 other soldiers, was recruited by drug lords Ociel Cardenas Guillen and Arturo Guzman de Sena to form the Gulf Cartel's paramilitary group Los Zetas. His brutal torture methods earned him the nickname El Verdugo, the executioner, particularly for killing his victims by feeding them to lions and tigers he kept on a ranch. On April 21, 2012, the Mexican Armed Forces raided a party in Monclova, Coahuila, aiming to capture Lascano, but he managed to flee the scene and avoid capture. There had been multiple unconfirmed reports of Lascano's death in the years leading up to his actual demise, but these were disproved by Mexican and U.S. authorities. On October 7, 2012, the Mexican Navy responded to a civilian complaint about armed gunmen in Progreso, Coahuila. Upon arrival, Lascano and another gunman opened fire from a white van, resulting in a shootout that left Lascano, his accomplice, and a Marine dead. The Navy confirmed Lascano's death through fingerprint verification and photographs before handing his body to local authorities. Unlike Lascano, the next boss on our list suffered a gruesome end. Jocelyn Alejandra Niño. Jocelyn Alejandra Niño, known by her alias La Flaca, which means the skinny one, was a suspected assassin for the Gulf Cartel, a criminal group based in Tamaulipas, Mexico. Born in 1995 to a relatively poor family in northeastern Mexico, she became an active member of the Gulf Cartel from a young age. The Gulf Cartel gave her the nickname La Flaca due to her slim physique. On January 5, 2015, a picture of La Flaca was leaked to Valor por Tamaulipas, a citizen journalist Facebook page dedicated to organized crime leaks. The image quickly spread on social media and garnered thousands of likes online, marking the beginning of the end for Jocelyn. Jocelyn was a member of the Ciclones gang, led by Angel Eduardo Prado Rodriguez, aka Ciclone 7, who were at war with another gang, Los Metros. Los Metros weakened the Ciclones by leaking photos of their members, making them easy targets for police and rival gangs. Ciclone 7 sent La Flaca to fight Los Metros in Rio Bravo, their territory. With a death sentence hanging over her, she eventually met a ruthless enemy. On April 13, 2015, police discovered her dismembered body in a freezer in Madame Morse, Tamaulipas. Throughout the day, officers found more body parts scattered across town, some in plastic bags. La Flaca was identified by her distinctive Nino tattoo, her family name, which also meant child. The autopsy confirmed she had been tortured as Los Metros tried to extract information about other Ciclones members. Sad as La Flaca's end may be, the next on our list didn't have it any easier. Amado Carrillo Fuentes. Amado Carrillo Fuentes, born on December 17, 1954 and died on July 5, 1997, was a notorious Mexican drug lord. He took control of the Juarez cartel after assassinating his boss, Rafael Aguilar Guajardo. Carrillo became infamous as El Señor de los Cielos, the Lord of the Skies, due to his extensive fleet of jets used to transport drugs. He was also known for laundering money through Colombia to finance this fleet. Initially part of the Guadalajara cartel, Amado Carrillo Fuentes oversaw cocaine shipments for his uncle and learned border operations before collaborating with major drug lords like Pablo Escobar, the Cali cartel, and El Chapo, ultimately building a multi-billion-dollar drug empire worth over $25 billion. The pressure to capture Carrillo intensified among U.S. and Mexican authorities. Carrillo Fuentes owned a house near the governor's residence and held narco fiestas in Tlaxcala. Governor Carrillo Olea resigned and was arrested. This pressure likely prompted Carrillo Fuentes to undergo facial plastic surgery and liposuction on July 4, 1997 at Santa Monica Hospital in Mexico City. However, complications arose during the operation, possibly due to a medication or a malfunctioning respirator, and he died a few hours after surgery. His body was flown to Sinaloa, sparking conspiracy theories that it did not belong to him, a debate that continues today. Carrillo, despite his efforts, met an unforeseen end, and so did the next boss on our list, Nazario Moreno. Nazario Moreno Gonzalez, known as El Chayo and El Mas Loco, was a Mexican drug lord who led La Familia Michoacana and later the Knights Templar cartel. Religion played a significant role in his upbringing, and he crafted an image of a protector among the poor by performing philanthropic deeds, which gave his cartel significant influence in Michoacan. His organization operated like a religious cult, with members given Bibles containing sayings and guidelines. On December 9, 2010, more than 2,000 Mexican federal police officers surrounded the village of El Alcalde in Apatzingan, Michoacan. La Familia Michoacana gunmen blocked town entrances with over 40 burning vehicles and surrounded Morelia to prevent police reinforcements, leading to a two-day shootout with at least 11 deaths. Initially reported dead, Moreno Gonzalez's body was supposedly taken by the cartel, sparking rumors he was still alive. Those rumors became true as on the morning of March 9, 2014, the Mexican Army and Navy located Moreno Gonzalez in Tumbiscatio, Michoacan. When authorities attempted to apprehend him, he opened fire and was killed in the ensuing gunfight. His identity was confirmed through DNA and fingerprint analysis. To prevent the theft of his body, over 150 law enforcement officers guarded the autopsy site in Apatzingan. Moreno Gonzalez died from 2 gunshot wounds to the chest. His body was transferred to Morelia for further testing. At the time of his death, he was wanted for drug trafficking, organized crime, kidnapping, murder, and theft. Just like Moreno, the next boss on our list suffered the same fate. Enrique Kike Plancart Solis. Enrique Plancart Solis, born on September 14, 1970, was a Mexican drug lord and high-ranking leader of the Knights Templar cartel, headquartered in Michoacan. Before joining the Knights Templar, he was a top leader in La Familia Michoacana, a split-off group. After Nazario Moreno Gonzalez's reported death in 2010, La Familia Michoacana formed the Knights Templar cartel, where Plancart became a key lieutenant, coordinating methamphetamine production and smuggling to the U.S. Both the Mexican and U.S. governments wanted him, and on February 25, 2010, the U.S. Department of the Treasury sanctioned him under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act, freezing his U.S. assets and prohibiting business activities with him. On March 31, 2014, he was shot dead during an operation in Querétaro. His identity was confirmed through fingerprint tests and analysis of old and recent photographs. Plancart's death was considered another victory for the government of Enrique Peña Nieto in the fight against drug cartels, as his death came a month after the Mexican Marines killed Knights Templar leader Nazario Moreno. Unlike Plancart, the next boss on our list caused her gruesome death. Claudia Ochoa Felix. Claudia Ochoa Felix, born on January 15, 1987, and died on September 14, 2019, was a social media personality. In 2014, rumors spread that she was a high-ranking leader of Los Antrax, an enforcement group for the Sinaloa cartel, following the arrest of their leader Jose Rodrigo Arechiga Gamboa, also known as Chino Antrax. Ochoa Felix denied these claims and any involvement in organized crime. She was known on social media for her resemblance to Kim Kardashian and had accounts on platforms like Instagram and Snapchat, where she showcased her luxurious lifestyle with sports cars, planes, yachts, and various weapons. On September 14, 2019, Ochoa Felix was found dead in her private residence in Culiacan due to apparent pulmonary aspiration caused by a drug overdose. The previous night, she had been seen going home with an unidentified man after attending a party. The next morning, the man raised an alarm when she did not respond, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Rumors circulated online that Ochoa Felix had been assassinated due to her alleged affiliations with Los Antrax and the Sinaloa Cartel. Just like Ochoa, the next boss on our list couldn't run away from a life she had begun. Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco Restrepo was a Colombian drug lord who played a major role in the cocaine trade and Miami's underworld from the 1970s to the early 2000s. At her peak in the 1970s and 80s, Griselda Blanco became the first billionaire criminal, earning $80 million a month from smuggling cocaine from Colombia to the U.S. known as La Madrina, the Black Widow, the cocaine godmother, and the queen of narco-trafficking. She was a drug lord of the Medellin Cartel. On February 17, 1985, DEA agents arrested her and charged her with conspiring to manufacture, import, and distribute cocaine. She was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. While serving her sentence, Blanco faced 3 additional first-degree murder charges in Florida. In 1998, Blanco pleaded guilty to 3 counts of second-degree murder and was sentenced to 20 years in prison to run concurrently. In 2004, due to her frail health, she was granted compassionate release and deported back to Colombia. On September 3, 2012, Blanco and her pregnant daughter-in-law visited the Cardizo butcher shop on the corner of 29th Street in Medellin. As she exited, an assassin on a motorcycle shot her twice in the head, killing her. The method of her assassination mirrored the style Blanco herself had used during the Miami drug war. If you thought Blanco's death was scary, the next boss on our list will shock you more. Hector Beltran Leyva. Hector Manuel Beltran Leyva, born on February 15, 1962, was a Mexican drug lord and leader of the Beltran Leyva cartel. He was the brother of Arturo Beltran Leyva, the former leader of the cartel. Hector rose to leadership after his brother's death on December 16, 2009, during a confrontation with Mexican Marines. Initially part of the Sinaloa cartel, the Beltran Leyva brothers split from the organization in 2008 after the arrest of Alfredo Beltran Leyva, blaming their boss Joaquin Guzman, known as El Chapo. They ordered the murder of Joaquin's son, Edgar Guzman Lopez, in retaliation. The Beltran Leyva brothers then established their own cartel and formed alliances with the Gulf Cartel and Los Zetas. The U.S. Department of State offered a $5 million reward for Hector's arrest, while the Mexican government offered a $2.1 million bounty. He was arrested by the Mexican Army on October 1, 2014 in a peaceful manner, as opposed to his brother's violent confrontation with the police, and transferred to the maximum security prison Altiplano on October 6th. He faced charges of drug trafficking, money laundering, and organized crime. On November 18, 2018, Hector began experiencing chest pains. As his condition deteriorated, he was taken to the Adolfo Lopez Mateos Medical Center in Toluca, State of Mexico. Security forces safeguarded the hospital's emergency area during his medical attention. Medical personnel confirmed that he died of a heart attack in the emergency room. Following his death, the hospital informed the authorities and stated that an autopsy would be conducted as mandated by Mexican law. Even in prison, death is inevitable, and so the next boss on our list did his best to avoid it. Manuel Torres Felix. Manuel Fidel Torres Felix, born on February 28, 1958, and died on October 13, 2012, also known as LM1, L14, and El Ondeado, was a Mexican drug lord and high-ranking leader of the Sinaloa cartel. Born in a small town in Sinaloa, Torres Felix began working for the Sinaloa cartel in the 1990s. He rose to prominence within the cartel after his brother, Javier Torres Felix, was arrested in 2004. He then collaborated with Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the son of Joaquin Guzman Loera, and oversaw drug trafficking shipments from South America to Mexico under the guidance of Ismael Zambada Garcia. In 2008, after his son was killed by rival gang members of the Beltran Leyva cartel, Torres Felix reportedly went on a killing spree, torturing the perpetrators at his home in Culiacan. His emotional instability and explosive personality earned him the nickname El Ondeado, which translates to the crazy one. Torres Felix was killed in a gun battle in Oso Viejo, Culiacan, Sinaloa, early on October 13, 2012, soldiers had intercepted and surrounded the Sinaloa cartel leader's vehicle, killing him as he tried to escape. After the shootout, the military confiscated several stashes of weapons, ammunition, and other materials. Before his death, Torres Felix was a key figure and major drug trafficker for Ismael Zambada Garcia and Joaquin Guzman Loera, Mexico's most wanted man. His body was sent to a forensic center and guarded by the military to prevent it from being taken by his henchmen. Just like Torres, the next boss on our list died trying to avoid the military. Antonio Ezequiel Cardenas Guillen. Antonio Ezequiel Cardenas Guillen, known as Tony Tormenta, was a Mexican drug lord and co-leader of the Gulf Cartel, based in Tamaulipas. Alongside Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sanchez, he was considered one of Mexico's most wanted men by security forces. Born in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, Antonio initially worked as a car washer at a local police station with his brother, Osiel Cardenas Guillen, the former cartel leader. By the late 1980s, Antonio entered the drug trade and later became the crime boss of Matamoros, overseeing the city's drug trafficking and organized crime activities. For at least 6 months, the Mexican armed forces were on the hunt for Antonio Ezequiel, nearly capturing him on 2 occasions. He avoided capture multiple times, relying on the armed squadron known as Los Escorpiones, the Scorpions, his private army. On April 7, 2010, there were 2 shootouts in Matamoros between Mexican Marines and Gulf Cartel members. Intelligence from these encounters allowed authorities to locate Ezequiel's home on September 14, 2010, but heavily armed gunmen intercepted the raid, allowing him to escape. On November 1, 2010, authorities learned he was in a safe house but missed capturing him. Antonio Ezequiel was killed on November 5, 2010, following an 8-hour shootout between Gulf Cartel gunmen and the Mexican Navy in Matamoros. Citizens of Matamoros reported the violence on social media while hiding in homes and offices. By 3:30 p.m., the military arrived to arrest Ezequiel, facing grenade and gunfire attacks. Over 300 grenades were detonated, and Gulf Cartel snipers fired from rooftops. The military ultimately killed Ezequiel and several bodyguards. The exact number of deaths remains unknown, making November 5, 2010 one of Matamoros' bloodiest days. Next on our list is a cartel boss whose dirty actions led to a very grave repercussion: Jose Isabel. Jose El Chabelo Isabel was the leader of the Sinaloa cartel in Manzanillo, home to Mexico's busiest port. The cartel is associated with violence, corruption, and money laundering, using intimidation, bribery, and violence to maintain control over their territories and operations. Isabel was shot and killed by police after he opened fire on attendees at a cockfight in Manzanillo, Mexico. Isabel and his gang of gunmen opened fire on December 15, 2024, killing 2 men. A picture from the scene that circulated showed grown men on the floor, scared. As Isabel and his gang fled the scene, they encountered federal police officers and members of the Mexican Navy, who opened fire. Isabel, already wanted for homicide, was killed in the exchange. Isabel's death was unforeseen, and so was the last on our list. Martin and Leobardo Garcia Corrales. The Garcia Corrales brothers were wanted by the United States, which offered a $4 million reward for their arrest due to charges of conspiring to traffic fentanyl and unlawfully possessing automatic weapons. An indictment detailed their operations and meetings, including negotiations to sell a ton of fentanyl. The powerful opiate causes tens of thousands of overdose deaths annually in the U.S. Despite surveillance from August 2022 to February 2023, they evaded capture. The exact role of the Garcia Corrales brothers in the Sinaloa cartel remains unclear, though their ability to buy weapons and manufacture fentanyl suggests significant power. In August 2024, their tortured bodies were found on a rural road in Alota, near Culiacan, alongside a 3rd body. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the Department of Justice had linked them to Zambada and El Chapo based on their statements. The exact circumstances of their deaths remain unknown. Thanks for watching. If you found this video shocking and thrilling, be sure to check out other similar and amazing videos on the screen. I'll see you in the next video.